Hello, Mac Performance. Welcome to our weekly live. I know it's Wednesday, which is a little bit different, but with everything that's going on, I felt it was appropriate to postpone today. And plus, it works out really well since it is our 1 year anniversary. Mac Performance has been serving the Twin Cities area now for 1 year, and I cannot believe it has been that long. I am completely amazed that the community has supported us and we're still around. It is always hard starting a business, so I just want to say thank you for being there for me and my family and my clinic and letting me take care of you so you can be active. And tonight, we're going to be continuing our summer series, and tonight is about getting back on the golf course and how to do that safely and start your year strong, especially in the Midwest. It is incredibly difficult to maintain your golf through the winter, and it is not able to be played year round. So if you're in Florida and Georgia and all those delightful southern states where you don't have winter, boo. You get to play year round. That is not the case in Minnesota and Michigan and Wisconsin. It is torrential snow, no outdoor golfing. Well, no easy outdoor golfing. Let's go with that. And it does take some time to get back on the course. So I'm going to go through the steps on how you can kind of do that easily and implement it in kind of your daily routine on how you can get back to golfing. So let's dive into this. And one thing you have to realize is that any time off, you're going to lose touch with your shot. It's just going to happen. Your short game is going to suffer. I know for me at least, my short game sucks, and it always has. It is so bad because it's not fun. It's not fun to work on. The big show for driving, that is my thing. But then I can't get the stupid ball on the green. So it's probably something I need to focus on more. And as a golfer, well, I'm going to say golfer light. I played heavily when I was younger, especially in high school, and then now that I'm an adult, it's kind of hard, especially as a working professional, to get out there, but it is a goal of mine to eventually get back out there because it is an activity that can be done all the time. So I usually make it out on the course maybe twice a summer, which means I buy very cheap golf balls and I go through all of them all the time. But that's where it is. So when you come back from a break, expect yourself to be rusty, and that's okay. Some 5 common places you can have pain is your wrist, elbow, shoulder, knee, and the low back. And I'm going to say the low back is probably the most common just because we're so used to working in this planar realm. Completely squared up, every activity we do, and golf is all about the twisting and the loading of the power. And that really puts some pressure on our low back when it's not ready. Now, the wrist, elbow, and shoulder all can be affected if we kind of hit the ground a little too hard as we're getting adjusted back into our shot. The other thing is just overuse. Sometimes we like to go out there and just get the big bucket of balls at the range, and that might not be the best thing to start off with. Now, here's some of those reasons those pains can happen. Lack of flexibility and very specific flexibility for golf. You have to realize that just doing a normal stretching routine may not accommodate for some of the aspects of where you need to have the flexibility versus have the structural stability to play the game. Also, poor conditioning. A lot of people poo-poo golf. To play at a high level, to play mini rounds, you have to be conditioned. And another thing is maybe you go too hard too fast. Maybe you play too much. Maybe you spend an entire weekend and get in as many rounds as possible. And Monday morning, ooh, you are not feeling necessarily good. And again, intermittent play, not being consistent. Golf is one of those things you need to stay consistent with as best you can, given the circumstances of the weather. Now, what you can do is realize another aspect of golf is the mental game. And it really, really is. So I have been on the course with people that have taken it maybe a little too seriously. I can remember a time of yelling deer when I probably should have stayed quiet, and I got a little in trouble with my dad. I'm just going to let that go. I was like 12. I didn't know any better. But it is still just a game. But to help with the mental aspect, to help develop a clear shot, develop a pre-shot routine, it's similar to what basically every athlete does, is before they do anything, whether it's serving a volleyball, shooting a free throw, there is a designated routine that they follow to make sure that every aspect of what they're doing is the same, so they don't have to think about it. They can just rely on muscle memory. So develop a pre-shot routine. Make sure it's not too long. You might annoy your golf buddies with that. And watch what some of the PGA golfers do so you can kind of see what they're doing. Every time they approach a shot, they approach it the same way. That way, no matter what they're doing, they're ready. Now, the basics of a golf swing. This is fundamental. If you don't know your basics, you can't do it. And you have to start with getting into position. The first place you need to set is where you're trying to go. So face your club. Where are you trying to target? If you always set your club in that way, you're ready to go. You then are going to set your shoulders, your back, your hips, your feet in an alignment to help you get the ball where it needs to go. So form the stability by putting a slight bend in your knees, but start with thinking, where am I going? How am I going to get into that position? And go top to bottom to create your balance and position. You then need to do your backswing. And the easiest way to kind of learn what to do is know what not to do. A lot of people try to hold their back too stiffly and use their entire shoulders and arms to produce the swing. And that's not using your body to the best of its ability. So keeping your back arm, so I'm a right-handed golfer, so I apologize, I wrote these all in a right-handed aspect. So if you're left-handed, please flip it in your mind, and I apologize for not accommodating for that. But you're going to keep that back arm as tight to your body as possible while you're going into your backswing. And think of your tempo. You want to make sure that you're going at the same pace for every swing. This helps you, again, to develop that muscle memory. Then as you're coming down with the downswing, you want to make sure that you're moving your left knee across your left foot. So again, your front knee across your foot. Then allow your arms. So you start with the lower body and have the upper body follow. Then have your hips, then have your chest move. This allows you to use your body as a rubber band to move the ball. Then you have to have the follow through. Once you strike the ball, you want to make sure you have a smooth, full follow through all the way back, so you're not putting any extra stresses on your body. This is an area that people can get injured if they try to just jerk and stop versus just smoothly going all the way through the movement. The other thing people are cued is to keep their head down. And the reason for this is whether your head's up or head's down changes the position of your spine as a whole. So you want to keep your body in as stable a position as possible so that you don't change the trajectory on the ball. And I'm sorry if you hear some crashing going on. One of my fur children is not enjoying that I'm not paying attention to him. So I apologize for that. But anyways, back to the golf. So you want to keep your head down Once you follow through, then you can watch. As you're developing your golf swing, it can be helpful to have a spotter come and watch the ball for you so you don't have to worry about where it's going. Now, what do you need to do to get there? You need to start at home. You need to start in the off season, which I know we're really kind of midstream, but you can still start now with some conditioning and flexibility work. You need to master your lower body. This is where your power starts as you bring it up through the body. So you need a solid foundation, and really squats, lunges, deadlifts, that'll help you develop the power, and you can play with the timing. So maybe with your squats, you go down really slow and then explode up, just to play with loading while you're going down, which would be the eccentric, and exploding up into the concentric, again, developing that power. Then, once you have mastered the basic movements, you want to move into some more complex movements, such as doing lunges with medicine ball rotations, some anti-rotation work, which can be done with a cable, where you're holding the cable out in front of you and keeping your body from twisting, and maybe you're doing lunges and squats or just simply presses. Again, working that anti-rotation, controlling your lower body so that you know where it is in space. Once you have that, is all about the core. And I'm not just talking about the abs. I am talking about the entire core system. So we're talking about your back, your stomach, your glutes, your quads, your hamstrings. Everything that crosses into that mid zone needs to be controlled. And it's not about the crunches. Crunches are not your answer as a golfer. You need to make sure you can control your body while you're breathing. And a lot of times when we work on core, we hold our breath. And that is not good. That is not good. All right, I see I have a question. I have a terrible tendency to slice the ball because I have difficulty keeping my hands synchronized with my hips. Any tips? I will get there. I will get there, Chad. So I am not ignoring you. I will cover that question at the end about how to kind of avoid the slice. Granted, a lot of times, it's all right here. You're so focused on everything else, you're not allowing this to relax, to move the ball. So it's all about your setup, and we will get there. So again, back to the core. Go into planks, side planks, wood chop. So using, again, a cable to pull across, doing some twisting rotations, med ball slams, a lot of dynamic movements within the core region to help build power, because you want this to be the slingshot that puts the ball down the green as straight as possible. Now, some things you can do for some flexibility moves. One is an overhead shoulder stretch. And I'm just going to go to a little bit bigger screen so you can see me. Always have a golf club on hand. Reach it up overhead and simply just stretch. Now, you can move in different angles. And I fully admit, for me to feel a stretch, I have some hypermobile shoulders from swimming. So if this seems like a really far way back, you might only be here, and that's okay. For me to feel a stretch, I kind of have to go back here, and that's because I have bad shoulders from swimming. So I apologize. But just kind of moving and allowing this. These flexibility moves are not to be done before you golf. These are to be done after or on a non-golf day to improve your range of motion. Let me just caveat that. So we have that overhead stretch. We have a forward hamstring, just simply bending over, touching your toes. Typical standing quad stretch where you're grabbing your foot and standing and letting that stretch. Kneeling hip flexor stretch. You're going to come back, put your one knee down, one knee up, keeping your knee in front of your toe. You do not want to push them past. Leaning forward, keeping your hips square. You can also add an arm up just to deepen the stretch. Then you have a basic tricep stretch. And then the last one is a TFL or an IT band stretch. That's the outside of the hip. These can get tight. Runners typically complain about it, but golfers can definitely have issues because of the amount of twisting. You have two options. One is when bending forward, bend. So if we're going to stretch the outside of the right hip, we're going to bend the left knee, keeping the right leg completely stretched, and then reach up. If that's too much twisting, another way to get it is to put the right leg behind the left foot, simply just crossing our feet and then bending forward, keeping the majority of the weight on the right leg so you keep that pressure. So just to kind of give you a little bit of the stretches, a little easier than just seeing the words on the screen. Each stretch needs to be held for at least 30 seconds to really get the full benefit. Hold it for a minute if you really want. There is a comprehensive stretching video on our YouTube channel, Mobility, Agility, Chiropractic Performance. So you can absolutely go there. It's 16 minutes long, takes you through a full body stretch, and you don't have to keep track of timing. It keeps track of timing for you, which is always the best because there are definitely more things you can stretch, but these are the 7 basic things you can do. Notice there's no low back twisting really at all. None of that. The thing we're focusing on to get the low back to loosen up is our kneeling hip flexors because they cross into the low back and they can cause majority of the issues and pain. Now, what does it really break down to? You gotta practice. You have to develop the muscle memory, which means you might need to practice swinging inside. But if you are a divot monster, I would not do that. I would practice outside until you have control that you're not taking divots out of your carpet. Your spouse will not appreciate you. Just going to throw that out there. And I do not want anyone getting in trouble. The next thing is to develop the perfect grip. According to Ben Hogan, a good golf begins with a good grip. So having a golf club nearby so you can practice your grip. I use a pinky interlocking grip, and I typically golf with a glove on. So I use a pinky interlocking. That's my preference. You need to think about each shot and what each shot calls for, because you don't want to be trying to murder your club while you're swinging. Each shot, whether you're driving, chipping, in the middle of the field or putting, has a slightly different golf grip, whether it's a little bit firmer, a little bit softer. So, and there's a general rule, but that is kind of specific to you. And you need to practice what works for you. The other thing is to recognize the grips on your clubs wear out. And you might need to get your clubs regripped if you're just really struggling. When they become old, they become slippy, and you then inherently will grip your club firmer. So this is where we're kind of getting into how to prevent that slice, Chad. You start with your grip. You then practice addressing the ball. And this simply is walking up, setting your pre-shot routine, and getting into how you're going to do your shot. So again, start with where you're wanting to put the ball. Place your club head at the target you want. Then set your shoulders squarely to where you're teeing up with your club face. Then set your hips, set your feet. Depending upon the shot you're taking, determines if the ball is going to be directly in the middle, a little bit forward, a little bit back. That's getting too nuancy. Start with it in the middle. As you progress, then you can start playing with where you put the shot, given what you're doing. It's the easiest way. Start as simple as possible, then expand out with what you need. Practice your short game as much as I hate it. This is the thing that makes you a good golfer. Even if you drive and slice into nowhere, if your short game's on point, it really can help decrease your score overall. Practice basic chipping. So boring. But practice it using both a P wedge and an 8-iron just to get used to trying to put the ball 3 to 4 paces on the green with a gentle roll towards the tee. Once you kind of develop that, it's going to open up and lower that score. If only I took my own advice. But I usually play a scramble, so my job is just to get it down there and then let everybody else figure out what's going on. Then it's all about the golf swing. For individuals, I recommend at least setting up a 2-point video of your golf swing. So if you have a friend with a phone and you have a phone, you now have 2 points. And videotaping your swing from those 2 angles, you can really kind of see, are you standing up through the swing and that's why you're topping the ball? Are you not keeping on your backswing? Are you letting your arm go back too far? So as you're coming back, you're not keeping this inner arm close, and that's leading to you turning the club head and slicing the ball. I know Andrew is great for heeling the ball, and then it like shoots horizontally from him. It's amazing. So it's really about slowing it down, creating that tempo so that your body can develop the memory. It's all about the quality of what you're producing, not necessarily the quantity. There is an app that we used to use in chiropractic school to assess our adjusting called Coach's Eye. I don't know. I should have looked into this. I don't know if it is still available. It was free. It was awesome. You could slow things down and assess it. And if it's still available, that's probably going to be the best thing for kind of just looking at your swing. Another thing is when you have that video, you can take it to a golf pro and go, hey, can you give me at least one tip on how to improve this? And take that one tip and focus on it and slowly try to fix your swing. If you to get 5 or 6 tips, it's going to be overwhelming and you're not going to be able to make the little adjustments you need. And really, it's all about go and play your first round and recognize no matter what, your first round is probably going to suck. And that's okay. Maybe this year I'll get out more than once and I'll actually be able to experience how things kind of go. Now, are there any questions? Chad, did that answer your question kind of on the slice? Really, when someone is slicing, don't go to a Golf Digest and read how to fix your slice, because they're going to have all these tiny little nuanced ways of doing it. Start from the very beginning of your approach and your swing basics. Once you have that down, your slice is going to be negligible. It really is, because if you do the same thing every time. Now, I will say, if you're doing the same thing every time and every time's a slice, check your setup. Maybe you're not squaring your club to where you want to go. Or take a video and see where you're twisting and fix that one thing. So I hope that kind of answers your question, Chad, about how keeping kind of everything synchronized. Golf is so complicated. There's tiny nuances, and that's really what define the differences between the weekend social golfer that partaketh too much drink. Because that's one thing. If you start at a phenomenal first 9 and then the second 9 is awful and you're drinking adult beverages, I'm going to say that's your problem. I'm just going to throw that out there. Any other questions tonight? I see we have Chad and Tim and Tracy and Josh and Colin and Andy and Liz and Denise. Hey, welcome to the live. I'm glad you joined. Let's see. So yes, I'm glad that a kind of answered your question. Addressing the ball is not something we think of doing. Usually we just walk up and take a whack at it and hope for the best, which usually is not good. No, never. I did hit a goose once at the driving range. The goose did not appreciate it, but it was kind of funny. Now, if you're golfing and you're doing everything right and yet you still end up having pain, you still end up potentially getting injured, that's where I come in as a chiropractor, specifically sports oriented. Another way, if you're not in the Twin Cities area, to find a chiropractor is to look for a Titleist Performance Institute certified provider. I know, or a TPI provider, short and sweet. And that is simply a certificate that allows providers to be specifically trained in sports, in golf performance. It is on my list. I have started doing some studying for it, but with being sick and quarantined, it's been a little hard to do anything. And I just want to say thanks to everyone joining tonight in the live stream. It is our 1-year anniversary serving the Twin Cities community at Mobility Agility Chiropractic Performance. So I thank you for supporting us and allowing us to be here to take care of you. We're going to be keeping with our live stream next Tuesday at 6:30 Central Time, and it is our last of our summer series, which is going to be about cycling or biking and what you can do, how you can get into it, should you be off-road, on-road, what type of bike you should use, and how to really kind of have that benefit for you to be more active. We've covered summer safety, especially with the heat, how to start running, getting back into swimming. We've now covered golf, and next week is cycling. After that week, we're going to do a Q&A, and then we're going to start another kind of series of videos that I haven't quite decided on. So if there is a topic that you want to hear about, comment below so that I have an idea of what you're interested in, because these live streams are about you and getting you the information that you need to be active. And I know I probably should put together a how to go back to hockey safely for when the rinks open up here in Minnesota, because I know all my adult athletes that have been taking the last 10 weeks off are going to jump those boards, and bless their hearts, they're going to be baby deers with sharp things on their feet, and it is not going to be pretty. But we'll see if we come to a need for hockey return to ice in the middle of the summer. Most likely, because it's Minnesota, I will need to do that one. But if you have any extra questions, even if you're watching on replay, hashtag replay, comment below. If you are here right now, go ahead, like or toss in a smiley face just so I know you're here. Toss in a comment below. If you have any extra questions, go ahead and type them out, and I'll happily answer them even after the live stream are done. I do take these all on Facebook and upload them to our YouTube channel, so they're easily searchable by the date, and they are also in their own playlist, so you can always go back, find what you want to watch, or see what we have available. We have covered over 20 different topics. This is our 21st video. I had no idea until I kind of organized everything yesterday. And I just want to thank everyone who has joined. I will see you next week. And here at Mobility Agility Chiropractic Performance, which I'm excited, we'll be back in office next week. I want to get you better faster, keep you better longer, because no one has time to be sidelined. Have a good evening, and I'll see you next week. To keep up to date with future content, please click subscribe. Additional information is found in the description of this video.
All information, content, and material of this video is for information purposes only and are not intended to serve as a substitute for the consultation, diagnosis, and/or medical treatment of a qualified physician or healthcare provider.